I was out and about in Woolstanton the other week. I was doing what they call a vox pop, so I was basically asking people for their opinions on things for Perry's show. And I met a woman who told me she was writing a book after I'd asked her for an opinion on whatever it was. I can't even remember now. She said, I'm writing a book. Is there any chance of coming in and basically talking about it on the radio? I said, well, it depends what it's about. So Charlie, she's from Biddulph, told me that it was about her son and about her life and her 11-year-old son, one of two twins, Harry, who's an extremely rare condition called Goldenhar syndrome, which basically means he was born with only half a face. I said, of course, come in. Sounds fascinating. Come in and have a chat with us. So she came in yesterday with Oliver and with Harry, and they had a look around the studios. They were delightful, and this is what we talked about. This is how we got on. She told me how she and Harry had dealt with his condition when he was born.
So essentially it just kind of looked like somebody had rubbed out the left-hand side of his face. So his right-hand side is, as you can see, beautiful, and his left-hand side was just missing. It was just a blank canvas. So he'd got a dip where his eye should have been, and he'd got some cartilage that was bulging in between his eyebrows, so he'd got a lump where he shouldn't have had. No ear at all, so that was really smooth, but he had got the remnants of an earlobe really low down on the left-hand side.
What was that moment like when you first saw Harry when he was born and passed to you?
Awful. Awful. And that's a hard thing to say now, because I wouldn't change either of my boys for the world now, but I'd had a totally fine pregnancy, expected 2 healthy twins, and was led to believe that was fine. We'd had scans, was told everything was fine. So to have him and be told that we'd got this syndrome was just such a shock, and I didn't know what to expect initially. They came and told me and then said, he's got half a face, he might never walk, we don't know what his brain functioning's like. Do you want to go and see him? And at that point I really didn't, because I was just in utter shock, utter disbelief that could happen to somebody that looked after themselves when they were pregnant and expected, as every mother does, perfectly healthy, happy twins. So it was really, really tough.
There were tears?
Yes, and as I say, shock initially, shock, fear, grief, guilt. I was convinced that I must have done something wrong. I must have caused it somehow. I racked my brain for weeks and weeks and weeks thinking there must have been a moment when I did this to him.
Just describe what he looks like for us now, because he does have an eye.
He does.
He does have the features that you'd associate with any normal-looking little boy because of those 20 amazing operations.
Yeah, and the cheekiest smile in the world. He's got his prosthetic eye. It's not in the correct place as it would have been had he been born with, 2 normal eyes. So it's a little bit low, but he definitely looks better to children that see him initially. So he's looking fab.
And Harry is what you call non-verbal, but he can say hello, hiya.
Yeah.
And can say bits and pieces, but he kind of has to be prompted by you.
He does.
So, hiya, Harry.
Harry says, hi, John.
Hi, John.
Good boy.
Good man. And what do you think of being on the radio?
Good.
It's good. Oliver's so good with him.
Yeah.
Like a big brother. Obviously they're twins, but like a big brother.
Yeah, he's Harry's fiercest protector.
Yeah.
Definitely. Everybody that meets both of my boys, fall in love with them, and he melts everybody. And Harry, as well as the Goldenhar, he has autism, which isn't traditionally associated with Goldenhar. So unfortunately, Harry had a bit of a double whammy there. And he's technically classed as non-verbal, so he doesn't always give a lot back in terms of conversation or response, and yet he has this magical way of touching people, which is just incredible. Often siblings, kind of, the strength of them gets missed, gets overlooked, because Oliver has to put up with sharing my time with Harry. He's kind of got the worst of both worlds in that he's not an only child, but he doesn't have my full attention.
What do you think of Harry, Oliver?
It's always been a hard one with me, because I wish I could play with him, I wish I could do different things with him, but he's not had the typical brother. Like, you can't share a conversation, because you can talk to him, everybody can talk to him, and just, you can't always get a response back from him. Like, he does say bits and pieces on his own, he just can't have a full conversation with you. Also, I can't play with him, so I'm kind of on my own before my stepbrother and sister come around. I can do stuff, but it's not as fun unless I have someone to play with. So sometimes I'm a bit lonely, so I wish that would change a bit. But it is what it is.
Yeah, well, you're a very grown-up, mature, young man, as it were. It's been tough for your mum. Is it hard watching it be tough for your mum as well?
Yeah, because Mum does struggle. She has had difficult times in the past, and she's always got through it. So I respect her in that way, because she's got through the hardest bits so far.
What a story. What a story, and what a lovely family. Now, Oliver there was alluding to the fact it's been hard for his mum. Hear a little bit later on in the programme how it got so bad for Charlie at one stage that she was thinking seriously about taking her own life. It does have a happy ending, though, this. She's written a book. It's called Our Altered Life. It's not published yet, but it will be soon. She's hoping in the next 6 months or so. And it's kind of her journey about having a son born with special needs, like Harry, born with half a face. And she's hoping that it will be a book that someone can pick up in the future in a similar position to her and take some inspiration, some maybe some comfort from. Maybe if she can help one person, that's her objective. But what a lovely family. If you want to talk about that this morning, you can. Maybe you're in a similar boat. 01782 208 008. Maybe you've drawn some inspiration already. And also it started us thinking in the office, if you were writing a book about your life, what would you call it? Theirs is called Our Altered Life. Mine would probably be called Failing Exams Without Anxiety. My dad wrote a book called Passing Exams Without Anxiety. I then failed my A-levels, but I had no anxiety. So it would be about failing exams and just not getting too bothered about it, because things might turn out all right in the end, like they have for me. That would be mine.